In the headlines, nearly 48,000 terrorists surrendered to military authorities. 180 Anambra delegates picked to attend APC National Convention. NDLEA intercepts 1.9 million tablets of tramadol at Lagos Airport. And on the foreign scene, NATO agrees to deploy 4 additional battle groups as it scrambles to strengthen defenses amid Russia's offensive. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Now the news in full. Defense Headquarters says a total of 47,975 insurgents and their families have surrendered to troops of Operation Haɗin-kai in the northeast from September 2021 to date. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyeko, stated this while giving an update on military operations between March 10th and March 24th on Thursday in Abuja. Onyeko said the achievement of the military within the period, including killing of 17 insurgents, arrest of 35, recovery of 34 AK-47s, 5 Dane guns, and 9 locally made guns. He said the troops also recovered 270 Russell cows, 3 motorcycles, and 13 bicycles used by the insurgents for movement. According to him, while 7,000 Islamic State of West Africa Province, ISWAP, and Boko Haram terrorists from different locations surrendered, troops also rescued 27 civilians in the last 2 weeks, amongst other successes. Police in Kano has arrested an 18-year-old Abdul Samad Suleiman of Dorayi Chirenchi Quarters, Gwale local government area of Kano State, and his accomplice, 17-year-old Muazzam Lawan of the same address, for killing a 21-year-old housewife, Rukaya Jamilu, in Kano. In a statement issued by the police spokesperson, SP Abdullahi Kiawa said during investigation, Suleiman confessed that he went to the house of the deceased as his relative and met her on the bed. However, after stealing 3 mobile phones in the house and realized that the crime will be traced back to him, he used a wooden-made pestle and repeatedly hit the deceased on her head, as well as her 2 children, and left with the mobile phones. He further confessed that he gave one of the mobile phones to his friend and sold the other 2 at the rate of 12,000 naira. Meanwhile, on rushing the victims to Murtala Muhammad Specialist Hospital, Kano, doctors examined the housewife and confirmed her dead, while the 2 children sustained injuries and are receiving treatment. Irigwe people in Bassa local government area of Plateau State have raised alarm over unabated indiscriminate grazing and destruction of farmlands and crops by herders, saying since February 2022, about 500 million naira has been lost to the activities of the herders. The national president, Irigwe Development Association, Robert Dodo, stated this and appealed to the state government and Operation Safe Haven for help to avert the looming famine in the area. Following the destruction of their farmlands, crops, and stealing of their implements by the herders. Recall that several peace accords and concord had been signed and entered to between the herders and farmers. Meanwhile, angry youth at Chukuku community, Abuja, on Thursday barricaded the Kuje-Gwagwalada road during a protest over incessant kidnappings by bandits in the community. The News Agency of Nigeria reports that the angry youth barricaded the road with inscriptions on placards and set tires on fire on the busy road, insisting that government should provide adequate security to curb kidnappings being witnessed by the community regularly. According to reports, vehicles have to be diverted through Kuje Airport Road to access Gwagwalada from Kuje. Meanwhile, police at the scene calmed the youth and urged them to sheath their sword as necessary steps have been taken to address the issue. Now to politics, where President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday night met with all the national chairmanship aspirants of the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, ahead of Saturday's national convention of the party. In attendance at the meeting held at the presidential villa were his chief of staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, and chairman of the APC Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, May Mala Buni. The national chairmanship aspirants at the meeting met with the president at the presidential villa. Meanwhile, All Progressive Congress in APC in Anambra has picked 180 delegates from the 21 local government areas of the state to represent the state at the party's national convention scheduled for Saturday, 26 March in Abuja. State chairman of the party, Basil Ejidike, said this during the inauguration of the state zonal and local government executive committee members at the party headquarters in Awka. He said the party has all it takes to win elections and is committed to the cause, calling on members to reposition the party.
Allegiance to the All Progressive Congress.
We are going to the convention with about 180 delegates. We are prepared for the battle ahead. Anambra State should be part of the mainstream politics. The federal government has done so much for our people, and we must find a way to reciprocate. And the only way we can reciprocate is to be part of the mainstream.
Embattled Governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, says he's not worried over a recent court decision which sacked his administration. The governor stated this on Wednesday while fielding questions from State House reporters after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa. Reacting to the development, Umahi said there is no constitutional provision that says a governor can be sued, noting that God allowed the incident to manifest to provide him an opportunity to further consult on his presidential ambition. Recall that a federal high court in Abuja on Monday had struck out the motion filed by Umahi seeking for a stay of execution of the March 8th judgment.
For everything, and I think that God allowed one court to give judgment that I go nowhere, allowed another court to say because we defected and the votes belong to the party. And I'm very much worried because the highest court has said that votes belong to the candidates. And that's why even though APC won the election in Bayelsa State, but the deputy governor's credentials were defective. And even a day to the swearing in, the Supreme Court ruled disqualifying the candidate of APC that won the election because of his deputy. And so if votes belonged to the party, it would have been that the Supreme Court in their wisdom would have just asked for the man that won the election for party to bring a substitute to do that. So I'm not worried because in the first place, there is no constitutional provision that says that a governor can be sued in the first place. So I'm not suable, but a court judgment is a court judgment. I'm not to interpret it, but the Constitution we swore to uphold, I can speak to the Constitution. And the Constitution says that when once you are elected, you enjoy immunity. And Supreme Court says votes cast in an election belong to the candidates. And that's why you have qualifications of a candidate and not qualifications of a political party.
And still talking politics, ahead of the 2023 general elections, some members of the All Progressive Congress in Kaduna North Federal Constituency say the next governor of the state should come from Zone 1 in the interest of justice and fairness. Fatima Saleh-Laden has more.
Spokesperson of the group, Dr. Usman Ahmed Dambaba, says exclusion of the zone from key federal and state elective and political appointment is alarming and worrisome, saying the zone have not been compensated by the party.
We make bold to demand for the following as it affects the choice of a successor to our leader. One, we're looking at geographical location. Of course, it isn't by chance that the state is divided into 3 different senatorial zones, but for political parties and politicians to be fair and strategic. For instance, the senator, the 6 members of House of Representatives, 11 out of the 12 state assembly members, 7 out of the 8 council chairpersons from Zone 1 are all from the APC. However, none of the governor, the deputy governor, the two ministers representing Kaduna State, the party chairman of the APC, the party secretary at the state, the women leader, the youth leader, or the state representative at the national level of the APC is from Zone 1.
The group, while lamenting how both elective and appointive positions are dominated by persons from Zone 2 and 3, said they have believed their zone has capable hands who can do well if given the chance.
The next governor of the state must be bold, well-educated, and charismatic enough to discuss matters related to the development of the state and articulate them. We need that to be sustained as well. In fact, we wouldn't appreciate anything below that.
The group said the next governor of the state must be bold, well-educated, and charismatic enough to discuss matters related to the development of the state and articulate them. Fatima Salaladan, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
National Drug Law Enforcement Agency operatives have seized over 1.9 tablets of tramadol and codeine imported into the country from Pakistan and United Kingdom from International Airport in Lagos. NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, in a statement on Wednesday, said about 40 cartons of Cocomadol, a brand of paracetamol with codeine, which is classified as an opioid, were seized from a freight agent, Eraihueme Ehiz. Babafemi added that also about 349,800 tablets of the drug, 130 kilograms, came in from London as a consolidated cargo. The Sako Shell Airport declared that personnel effects were discovered to contain some medicaments. According to the spokesman, other seizures include 17 cartons of 250 milligrams tramadol, branded as Tamra, weighing 669.70 kilograms, and 5 cartons of 225 milligrams tramadol under the brand name Royal, with a gross weight of 217.15 kilograms. 150-year-old Oyewumi Ahmed. You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up after the break. Knitting clothes for decades. This and more after the break. Do stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. You're still watching Trust TV News Update. Now a look at our top stories. Defense Headquarters says a total of 47,975 insurgents and their families have surrendered to troops of Operation Hatinkai in the northeast from September 2021 to date. And APC in Anambra has picked 180 delegates from the 21 local government areas of the state to represent the state at the party's national convention scheduled for Saturday, March 26th in Abuja. Now moving on to other news on education, federal government has continued its meeting with the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Polytechnics to renegotiate its 2010 and 2017 agreements. Speaking on behalf of the government, Chairman of the Renegotiation Committee, Wazir Bulama, explains that the committee has observed that most of the demands and issues raised by the union are similar, adding that government is ready to play its part towards ensuring that all of the issues raised are resolved.
Is that most of the problems are similar and generic. And the government is ready to look into these issues seriously with a view to collectively finding solutions to the problems afflicting this sector. There are problems relating to infrastructure. There are problems relating to staff issues, and there are, of course, many other issues relating to policy that need reforms.
Each of the sectors, each of the unions, they all have their issues. This particular process started since 2017, and so it's not leaning on what is going on in the other subsectors. And I think it's a positive development that that the government at this time, through this team, has decided to resume discussions with unions in Nigerian polytechnics. And our prayer is that the outcome will be such that will be beneficial to the Nigerian society at large.
If Ukrainian President Zelensky will be reaching out to Putin for direct talk, despite the banding and what they are experiencing, I think it's only good we open our mind and believe this meeting, this renegotiation will bring out positive results. And having said that, we want to seize this opportunity to appeal to many Nigerians to help impress it and influence the president, the father of the nation, to please append his signature, give his assent to the bill, the abrogation of dichotomy bill, recently passed by the National Assembly.
Knitting of clothes and decorative materials has been a source of livelihood for many families in northern Nigeria for a long time. However, some knitters say the business is not buoyant anymore. A 50-year-old retired nurse in Gombe, Christina Dadan, has been knitting for more than 3 decades. She told Trust TV that the business is threatened by hot weather conditions in the north. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Knitting is not just a business to this quinquagenarian, but a lifetime hobby she grew with since she was a child.
This knitting work, I started it from childhood. My mother used to knit some caps, so I started emulating her by using some broomsticks to knit some things like that. And when I became used to it, I can knit something reasonable. So I started knitting from primary school as I craft. In those days, we used to have a course, a subject called craft, handwork. So my handwork was always the knitting work. And my teachers used to patronize it right from primary school. And when I finished the primary school, I still continue to build on it. Anywhere I see any wool work, I will ask and I will develop myself on it. And I started to knit some sweaters with knitting pins like this. There is hand knitting like this one. And even some books that have knitting work, this woolcraft of people doing home economics. Even though I didn't offer it as a course in school, home economics, but anywhere I see any handwork of wool, I will follow it and learn something in it. And I develop myself in it. I knit very well, and in fact, it helped me a lot.
Mrs. Christina's career in nursing did not stop her from the knitting job, which won her trophies in life.
I achieved a lot. I achieved a lot because with the knitting work, even though I'm a civil servant, my salary, I keep it aside. I eat what I use with my hands. This is what I feed on. And in fact, I have many assets based on my salary because I don't collect loan, I don't do anything. I eat what I use with my hand, and my salary, I keep it for projects. And it has helped me a lot. In fact, I won an award. During the time of Good Luck, there's something they do as called You Win. I use this as a business in You Win, and I won it. This knitting work, I use it. That is what I entered in as a business, and I got a lot.
How do you feel when you won that award?
I was so happy. People were saying, no, use your profession. Maybe you can build a nursing home because I'm a nurse as a professional. Maybe you can build a hospital or something. I say, no, there are many people doing that. But this knitting work, people don't like it much. They look at it as a small thing. but it is not so small as they think.
However, the retired nurse is worried that the business is not lucrative now as it used to be.
Business is not thriving as it used to be. Before, people are patronizing it. We need their sweaters for children, for all these uniform professionals. They will request us to knit. But now, people are not patronizing it much. And the wool is so costly now. If you ask somebody, if he says knit a sweater for me and you tell him the price, he will say, it's too expensive, I better go for Okrika.
Christina now operates a shop where she sells soft drinks and showcases some of her products to put food on the table. The 50-year-old woman has a message to young Nigerians.
My advice to young people is they should not sit idle. They should find something, no matter how small it is. If they can start on something, in fact, if they grow in it, they will like that thing and it will even earn them a living. They cannot just sit and say because they are going to school. After school, they will get a big job. But let them just do these small things.
Economic experts believe that government does not have the capacity to employ all graduates from Nigerian universities. However, small businesses can help youth to be self-reliant. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
Federal Capital Territory Administration is bent on restoring safety, development and reducing traffic in the capital city. To this end, FCTA has carried out demolition exercises in areas riddled with illegal structures and shanties. Areas cleared so far include Airport Road, Utako Village, Gwarimpa and Durumi. Chamun Dabeng has more.
I am currently standing in what used to be a popular mechanic village, but the area has been cleared out as the Federal Capital Territory Administration continues its quest to restore orderliness and safety in the state capital. The FCTA is moving with bulldozers, knocking down illegal structures. Officials seem to have no plans of sparing any structure that threatens the plans for the FCT. A town planner, Lekadi Feboke, speaks on the ongoing operations by the FCTA.
Two key words you used in your question. Number one, you talked about illegal. So this means that from the very first time of people inhabiting these areas, they knew it was illegal. And when it is illegal, it means there's a law binding it, covering those areas. And it means at any point in time, the government can decide to effect the law against any form of illegality. Again, there's also a threat of criminals hiding in these areas. They are shanties, slums, right? Whereas they provide affordable housing locations for certain classes of people. It is not enough to say you have them and put the entire area at risk. So someone goes and robs, look at all the areas you've called. You've called Utako, you've called, we've talked about Durumi, we've talked about Gwarimpa. These are very, very, very developed areas. Not everywhere in the world do you have your developed center and right next to it you have a shanty. It isn't, in planning, it's not good to the eyes.
FCTA's plans to revoke land titles for over 400 uncompleted buildings and about 600 undeveloped plots of land is generating storm. If the FCTA carries out its plans, what could be its implications for the real estate sector? Will it affect the cost of housing? A developer, Ebuka Adichie, speaks.
Well, when I read that on the news, I was quite amused because for two reasons. First reason is now is such a hard time. I don't know if you've seen the cost of building materials lately. It's a hard time for property developers to jump in, especially if you're not, that's not your business, right? Maybe you're building your own home. It's a hard time for you to do that because of the inflation in the country. And so that has to kind of be tempered and seen within the light of the economic realities that we have in Nigeria. But on the flip side, I also think it portends a good omen for real estate facilitators, real estate developers. Why? Because it would force land speculators that just basically hold on these properties and hold on to it and add no value whatsoever. So that will encourage a lot of developers to build illegally. Some people are building on water lines and all of that. So yes, while it's painful to absorb, especially if you're what we call a ghetto landlord, and you have these shanties in these areas that don't have any development control approvals. Or sometimes they do, in some cases they actually do, and yet it goes on. It's sad. There should be a way to absorb that cost, especially because of the economic hardship in the land. So if you're going to demolish somebody's shop or his house, what means are you thinking of relocating them? And it's a good opportunity, especially if you're going to develop Phase 4 Abuja, places that are currently seen as hinterlands. Give them alternatives to move there and actually have title documents where they can go and start over again.
As the FCT continues on their quest to clean up the capital city, residents may witness more demolitions in the upcoming weeks. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now a look at the foreign scene, where NATO leaders have agreed to bolster defenses along the alliance's eastern flank at an emergency summit in Brussels. The head of the alliance also warned Russia against using nuclear weapons after its February 24th invasion of Ukraine. Speaking at a news conference ahead of the NATO summit in Brussels, Chief Jens Stoltenberg says he expects leaders will agree to strengthen NATO's posture in all domains, with major increases in the eastern part of the alliance, on land, in the air, and at sea. The United Nations says more than 1,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine and that more than half of the country's 7.5 million children have been displaced. The United States says it will welcome up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees fleeing Russia's offensive. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling on Ukraine's Western allies to provide Kyiv with tanks, planes, and weapons. And that concludes Trust TV News Update for this hour. Don't forget, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.